Greetings from the Astronomy Center and Jordan Planetarium at the University of Maine. My name is Sean Lotch, I'm the Planetarium Director, and I look forward to sharing some of the beauty and wonder of our universe with you. It is hard to believe that June is already here, and this is our virtual sky tour and astronomy update for June 5th through 11th of 2020. In this week's episode, we're going to take a look at Near Earth Asteroids, the successful docking of the Dragon Demo 2, or Endeavour spacecraft, with the International Space Station, and a look at our night sky with stars, constellations, and planets, focusing on some of the summer constellations which are now becoming visible in our early evening hours. Let's go ahead and get started. We begin this week with Near Earth Asteroids. There are over 8,000 of what we call NEOs, or Near Earth objects, that pass close by our planet. Asteroids basically are leftover materials from the formation of our solar system. They tend to be rocky or metallic pieces which are left over from when the solar system came together and are the building blocks of planets. Well, every once in a while these objects can come close by the Earth, but close is a relative term. For something to be considered a near-Earth object means it passes within half of an astronomical unit of the Earth. That means half the distance between Earth and the Sun, or roughly 46 million miles. Now, the ones this month are actually going to pass within lunar distances, which is quite a bit closer. Now, the lunar distance is the distance between Earth and the Moon, which is about 239,000 miles, or about 384,000 kilometers or so. Well, there are 3 asteroids that are passing within these lunar distances. On June 6th, asteroid 2020 LA is going to pass 3.69 lunar distances away. It's about 25 to 50 meters in size, being roughly a quarter to half the size of a football field. On June 8th, asteroid 2020 KZ3 is going to pass a little over 3 lunar distances away. And on June 14th, we have a very close pass in terms of astronomy distances, and that asteroid is going to pass potentially within just under 1 lunar distance away, and it's about 18 to 40 meters in size, so roughly the story of a 5 to 6 story building, to give you an idea. Well, none of these asteroids, even though they are passing relatively close, pose any danger to our planet. However, in the news recently, there was talk of this asteroid on June 6th, which is going to pass close by our planet and is over 500 meters in size. Well, yes, there is one passing 500 meters, or that is 500 meters in size, but it's going to be passing over 13 lunar distances away, so quite some distance from us. Well, asteroids have occasionally hit our planet and caused damage. And while the image you see in the lower left has an asteroid glowing, asteroids won't glow like that unless they've already entered our atmosphere and friction has heated them up, and that's when they start to glow. So you don't really have to worry about that. So nothing like the picture you're going to see there. Well, again, these asteroids are going to zip by us, and they don't pose a threat this time, but we do want to keep track because, again, one that is very large, if it was more than a mile in diameter, could potentially threaten our planet with extinction if it were to hit us. And that's one of the reasons that NASA and other agencies keep track of this. Well, the website you see here is the Center for Near Earth Objects, and if you're interested in it, check it out. You can learn more about them there, find out whenever there's a close pass by our planet. Well, I mentioned we wanted to talk about this Dragon Demo 2 as well, and it successfully docked on the 31st of May, so this past Sunday. And I hope you had a chance to see the launch. Here's a little video clip about that docking.
Is open 12:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 p.m. Eastern. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley opened the hatch to the International Space Station after launching from American soil on a U.S. vehicle for the first time in 9 years, the first time ever for a commercially built spacecraft.
And a special thing for us here in Maine is they are greeted first by Chris Cassidy, one of Maine's astronauts.
The International Space Station. Followed by Doug Hurley.
Station, it's Houston on Space to Ground 2. Confirm that you are ready for the event.
Houston, this station, we are ready for the event.
Copy that. And sir, Administrator Bridenstine, welcome to MCC. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is the NASA Administrator. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, sir. Welcome to the space station.
Thank you, Chris. It's good to see you. And welcome to Bob and Doug. I will tell you, the whole world saw this mission, and we are so proud of everything you have done for our country, and in fact, to inspire the world.
We sure appreciate that, sir. It's obviously been our honor to be just a small part of this. We have to give credit to SpaceX, the Commercial Crew Program, and of course NASA. It's great to get the United States back in the crewed launch business, and we're just really glad to be on board this magnificent complex.
Well, we have some VIPs with us here, and I'm sure they have some questions that they'd like to ask you, but I have one of my own before I turn it over. And I just wanted to find out if you guys got any sleep on your way up there the last, I'd say, I get 19 hours. Did you guys get any sleep?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks in Hawthorne were asking the same question, sir, but we did get probably a good 7 hours or so opportunity for sleep, and I did succeed at sleep, and Doug did as well. So the first night is always a little bit of a challenge, but the Dragon was a slick vehicle, and we had good airflow, and so we had an excellent evening, and just excited to be back in low Earth orbit again.
Well, again, that was from NASA and space.com. We hope you enjoyed that little video, and we do hope that you had a chance to watch the successful docking of the International Space Station with the Dragon Demo 2 module. Well, we're going to switch gears here a little bit and move to our night sky and check out some of the stars and constellations currently visible here from Maine. Well, here we are using Stellarium once again to explore our nighttime sky. And we're beginning this week by taking a look at the direction of north. And what I wanted to do to begin with was bring our pointer into our field of view here. And we are going to begin with the Big Dipper, one of the most recognizable groups of stars there in the sky. So these three stars mark the handle of the Big Dipper, and these four here mark the bowl. And the Big Dipper, again, looks a lot like a pot or pan that you might have on a stove at home. Well, if you imagine it as such, and you draw a line out, those first two stars, Dubhe and Merrick are their names, out the open end, and go about 5 times between them, they will point you to the North Star, which is not a very bright star, 43rd on the 50 brightest, but it helps us find our direction north, and it's at the end of the handle of the Little Dipper right there. The other thing you can do is if you go from that Big Dipper, draw a line to the North Star, and go just about an equidistance on the other side, you're going to hit sort of one of the end stars of this W shape here, which is almost at our horizon, and that is the W shape known as Cassiopeia, the Queen, that you can find in the evening sky. So we've just looked at a bunch of constellations right there. The Big Dipper, Little Dipper, and Cassiopeia. Those are all what we call circumpolar, as they will travel around the North Star. And to show you what I mean, I'm going to put time into motion here a little bit. We'll speed up time, and you will see how all of those stars seem to drift around that North Star. Now I'm going to take you forward to about 11 o'clock tonight, a little later in the evening, but again, right now it gets dark about 9:30, so it is really 11 o'clock is not too late in the evening, and for Friday night, why not stay up a little bit late and get a nice look at that sky? Well, you saw those stars sort of drifting around that North Star there. Let's go ahead and mark a few of those constellations in our sky. So we can begin by marking the Big Dipper there, and there we see it as that great bear. So the few extra stars will form the bear there with its head, and of course the handle ends up making the long tail. And if you were to use quite a bit of imagination, here is that bear there in the nighttime sky. Well, from the Big Dipper, again, you can draw that line to the North Star and find the little bear. The little bear marked up by the end of the handle of the Little Dipper there. And so Ursa Major and Ursa Minor are bears there. And again, if we draw them in, they both have long tails there in the nighttime sky. Well, in addition to those bears, what we do want to look at as well is that group that we called Cassiopeia the Queen, and we talked a little bit about her. If we mark up one of the stars in that queen, here she is. She sort of looks like a W shape, as I mentioned, but she's supposed to be a queen sitting on her throne there. Cassiopeia the Queen in the nighttime sky. Well, these again are circumpolar constellations. They're going to be visible throughout the entire night and throughout the entire year because, again, they all travel around the North Star and are above the horizon year-round from our vantage point here in Maine. Well, at this point, I want to switch our directions a bit, and what we want to do is head from the north. We actually want to head all the way around to the south. So we're going to sort of turn around here, heading through our direction west, all the way over, and we're going to keep going all the way until we are facing the direction of south. And here we are facing south right now, and you're going to notice that in tonight's sky, we do have a full moon. In fact, we can zoom in a little bit there to get a better view of the moon. But the moon, our nearest neighbor in space, is full tonight on the 5th of June. In fact, there was actually a partial lunar eclipse that was visible today, not from our side of the Earth. It was only penumbral, but again, there was a partial lunar eclipse. If you were on the other side of the Earth, sort of in Europe, you would have been able to see that in your evening sky. But right now we do have that full moon there, which is visible and quite spectacular. I do hope you have a chance to get out and see it. Well, I mentioned we wanted to talk about some of those constellations of the summer season, so I'm going to zoom out our view a little bit here so we can get a bit more sky in there, and we're going to sort of drop down here towards the horizon. And you might remember, you can sort of see here just barely in our view that we have, this is part of the handle of the Big Dipper, and here are sort of the back two stars here. But if you remember, we used the handle to do an arc to Arcturus and a spike to Spica. Arcturus in the constellation of Boötes, the herdsman in our night sky, and Spica in the constellation of Virgo, the maiden or goddess of fertility. And we talked a little bit about Virgo last time as well. I'll draw her in here for you. There is Virgo, and you can see again that handle of the Big Dipper. And also we could use and draw in that star for a group of, again, Boötes, the herdsman in the night sky too. Now, these are considered to be stars really of, if you will, the springtime season. And we mentioned that we're heading into summer. Now, summer doesn't begin until the 20th of this month on the summer solstice. However, we're starting to get some of those summertime constellations into view. And one of them is going to be a very important one right down here. It is called Scorpius the Scorpion. And so let's zoom in just a little bit. I'm going to move our sky up just a little bit so we can see south there a bit better. And we're going to zoom in a little bit here. And as we do so, this reddish star here, as we come right next to the moon tonight, is the star known as Antares. And Antares marks the heart of Scorpius. The scorpion's head is right up through here, sort of, and its claws would extend out in this direction. And the red star Antares, which actually means rival to Mars because it is reddish in color, marks the heart of that scorpion. And then its tail comes just a little bit down below the horizon. So you'll probably have to wait till a little after midnight to see all of the tail there in that nighttime sky. Well, if we mark Antares there in our sky, we can then draw it in, and there you can see sort of that head of the Scorpion, and you can still see Virgo off to the one side there. Now, Scorpius was a very important constellation to the ancient Greeks because Scorpius fought a battle with Orion the Hunter. Orion, of course, known for being one of the wintertime constellations, the brightest constellation in the winter season, made of 7 very bright stars. And the Scorpion is in summer, and there's a story, a classic story, in which the Scorpion and Orion fight this battle, and Orion ends up crushing him with his club, and Scorpius stings him at the same time. And so Diana, the goddess of the moon and of hunting, places Orion in the winter sky and the Scorpion in the skies of summer, so the two can't battle again. And that's one story about the Scorpion and Orion. Well, Scorpius, again, one of those nice summer constellations, and it is starting to become visible here in our early evening sky. I'm going to take off those constellation markers right now, and I do want to move time forward just a little bit more, just so that we can get a few more of those summertime constellations in. So here we're moving forward just a little bit, and as we do so, I'm going to take you to just around midnight. And just after midnight tonight, you're going to be joined in the evening sky. The moon is going to be joined by a couple planets that are going to rise. And these planets are the planets Jupiter and Saturn. So Jupiter and Saturn over here in the southeastern sky. This is about midnight. By that time, you can see a little more of that sort of Scorpion right there in the sky. Here is its tail now. So if we were to come back and draw in that Scorpion now with his tail, there again, you can see a little bit more of that tail there in the night sky, and the stinger marked by the star Shaula at the end of that tail. Well, I mentioned Scorpius there, and I did go a little bit later at night because we wanted to take a look for another summertime constellation, which is sort of important, and that is Sagittarius the Archer. Now, to me, I've always said it looks more like a teapot than anything else. Here's sort of the base of the teapot, the spout, the lid up there, and the handle, and that is Sagittarius, that archer or that teapot there in the nighttime sky. There's even sort of a little teaspoon, if you will, over here, which is spooning some sugar into that teapot. And if we draw that teapot in there in our nighttime sky, there you go, there is Sagittarius, that teapot. Now, if I zoom out a little bit, you will notice something kind of special is right in the area. Tonight it's going to be hard to see because of the full moon there, but in that teapot, if you sort of look right above that teapot, you're going to notice the steam of the Milky Way rising up out of that teapot and coming up high overhead. Now, tonight it is going to be hard because a full moon makes the Milky Way really hard to see. But if you wait a week or two, again, the moon will be out of that area, and then you'll be able to see that steam rising out of that teapot. It'll also be a little bit earlier in the evening that you'll be able to see that teapot as well. Well, if you were to follow that steam of the Milky Way on up, and tonight you can just sort of look up above it a bit, but you would notice 3 bright stars up here in this sky, and these are the summer triangle, Vega, Deneb, and Altair, and they mark up the summer triangle there in the sky, and we can mark sort of that group of stars for you. Here it is an asterism, that summer triangle, if you will. There you can see that triangle there in the nighttime sky. Alrighty, well, that summer triangle, Vega, Deneb, and Altair, made of 3 very bright stars that we can easily spot. And those are some of those stars of the summer season. Now, during summertime, the summer triangle is visible from sunset all the way to sunrise. You'll notice the star Altair, which is highlighted right now, is marking up Aquila, the eagle, in our nighttime sky, which is sort of a diamond-shaped group of stars. And above it, we have the star Vega. And Vega over here, of course, is a very bright star, which marks up part of the group known as Lyra the Harp. And we can highlight that group for you there and bring up Lyra the Harp in our night sky. And lastly, in that summer triangle group, we do have, again, a group of stars which marks up Cygnus the Swan. Deneb marks up the tail of the swan. Here's the body, neck, and head, one wing on this side and the other wing over here. So that is the Northern Cross, or Cygnus the Swan, there in our nighttime sky as well. We'll highlight Cygnus for you, and there you can see it drawn in now as well. Well, those are constellations of the summer season. Next time we'll get into them a bit more, but this at least gets you started on looking at some of those constellations of summertime. I hope that the weather stays warm, and I hope you do get out there and look up. This is Sean Lotch from Near Earth Astronomy Center and Jordan Planetarium, wishing you happy stargazing.